So,
I don't love the guy, but he's better than the other options.
Should have gone to the bathroom first.
What's that?
we good, Owen?
You're so far away.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order tonight for the City of Saratoga Springs, Tuesday, October 18th, 2022 at 6:06 p.m. Present tonight, we have Councilman Podeska participating electronically, Councilman McComber, Councilman Wilden, and Councilman Porter. Councilman Carn has been excused this evening. We'd like to invite the Youth Council to join the meeting to conduct it tonight. So if you've been asked, where's Ann? Oh.
Have the mayor sit there.
So who's the mayor? So you're here?
Just choose one. The seat.
Um,
You can mention chair.
Councilman Porter, will you lead us in our pledge this evening? And Councilman Wilden, will you lead us in our invocation? Then we'll go from there.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful that we're able to be gathered as a city council this evening and to counsel one with another and to evaluate decisions for our city that will improve things for not only our current residents, but the future residents as well. And we ask thee to bless us with thy spirit and please bless our military members and first responders that they'll be able to be protected. And these things we say in the name of thy son, Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Okay, thank you to the audience tonight. We appreciate your patience. This is one of the fun nights when we get to have the Youth Council come and help run a meeting. Kind of quick by fire hose training for this. We'll start this evening with the Youth Council oath of office. If we could have all of the Youth Council come stand at the front. Just behind the table, we'll do the oath of office. You guys can stand up here.
Go ahead and face out. Yeah.
Giant game of magical chairs, up and down. Okay, thank you for your willingness to serve. If you'll raise your right arm and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support, obey and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Utah. And that I will discharge the duties of my office. As a youth council member with fidelity. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Councilman McComber's got a little item for you on behalf of the city. It was our 25th anniversary. So it was council during our 25th year. Congratulations.
This is the challenge coin. This is.
Mayor, would you like me to introduce each of these kids? Okay. I shouldn't call them kids, but they are kids compared to me, so. So on the days, we have, if you guys will just raise your hand as I say your name, Chase Durham. He is our mayor. Lindsay Palfreyman is our mayor pro tem. She's on the days there. Miles Nelson is our secretary. Maggie Wooden is our volunteer coordinator. And McKay Jensen on the end over here is our timer. And then if you guys will just turn around and face the mayor and the council, I'm going to say your names, and as I say your names, just raise your hand so they can put a face with the name, okay? So Elise Mello, Briley Goodwin, Elizabeth Whittier, Ethan Wilden, Jake Hudson, Hudson Harrison, Hunter Heydrich, Jaden Parker, Josh Card, Kayla Esperson, Lily Barzy, Lydia Prestwich, Maya Parker, Olivia Dial, Peyton Harrison, Sabrina Barker, Sarah Pease, and Thomas Cahoon. And did I miss anyone? Tell me your name. I'm sorry, I have only met these guys once, so we're just getting started. Tell me your name. Abby Snow. Thank you so much. Okay, that is our council for now. We actually do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 others that are on the council that couldn't make it tonight. Thanks, guys.
Councilman McComber?
They can sit down if they want.
Oh, you're welcome to sit down.
Here's the extra. So I just wanted to say something interesting. As the council's sitting down and those sitting up here, when you guys took that oath of office, there are very few people in the country of the United States of America that actually get to take an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States. And that's a pretty cool opportunity for you as youth council to be able to do that. Your police officers, your military, your first responders, and elected officials are pretty much the only ones who do that, and you got to do that today. So I'd like you to tonight, and as you're on the council, think about that you actually took an oath to defend this great country's Constitution. So thank you.
Okay, momentarily we'll turn the meeting over for you to conduct. We do have one presentation tonight. If Bryce Anderson, if you'd please come up to the podium for us. Bryce has served on the Planning Commission with us since July of 2018 to current. We wish we were able to keep him, but he has other duties that are calling him for service. We appreciate your service. We have this award here for you. I'll just like to read that to you. Presented to Bryce Anderson for your dedicated service on the City of Saratoga Springs Planning Commission. Your hard work, honesty, positive attitude, and commitment to making Saratoga Springs a great community is sincerely appreciated by the mayor and the city council. Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Thank you for your work and effort in the city.
Yeah, you're not done.
We also like to do your name tag.
Mayor, can I get a picture of you and him together? You gotta go on social media, man.
Thanks, Bryce.
So we just wanted to add to that with Planning Commission, it takes a lot of hours before things come to us. Some things don't, they just are handled in the Planning Commission. By the time a lot of development comes to the City Council, it has been through review in the Planning Commission. There are many hours outside of their meetings that are spent reviewing packets. Councilman McComber and I were just talking. We both have a chance to know Bryce and work with him. He spends a lot of time looking through his packet, working on items, trying to make sure that the city was built in a way that could go into the future built right. So thank you again for your service. Okay, public input. Time has been set aside for the public to express ideas, concerns, and comments for subject matter not listed on the agenda. If you're here for the public hearing for the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget amendments, please hold your comments for the public hearing. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please avoid repetitive comments, and please state your name and address for the record. Is anybody here for public input at this time? If you'd come up to the podium.
Sorry, we're just pointing at the podium, yeah.
Thought there was someone else.
Oh,
My name is Art Cranbuell. I live at 1221 South Hillside Drive, which is in the Grandview area there. What I was hoping to do today was start the conversation around having the city assume ownership over a retention basin that resides within our neighborhood. We have an HOA that is 34 homes, and its primary purpose is to maintain a retention basin. And I am led to understand that the city no longer formulates HOAs for the sole purpose of maintaining a retention basin. And so I was hoping to start the conversation. The retention basin itself, I have a budget here for our HOA. It shows 100% of the expenses go towards maintenance of this retention basin. We don't derive much benefit from it. It's just an extra tax that the 34 houses that are in our neighborhood get to pay. And so I don't know what other additional information you might want. The land is in great condition. We've upkept it. We've been trying to lower our expenses as much as possible. We filled in rock where there was previously grass to try to lower the maintenance fees. And we're still left with lots and lots of fees that continue to grow over time. And that's the item I was hoping to discuss more.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mark, can staff follow up on that with the council later? Okay.
What's the process for the follow-up?
Staff will, sorry, normally it's not dialogue at this point, but we can have staff start the conversation,
Thank you.
look into it.
If I could, there's a sign-in sheet outside. If you could just make sure and sign in with your contact information, we'll reach out to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to go on record to just say thank you for my time on Planning Commission. I had a wonderful experience, and I am deeply impressed by our city staff. I find them to be excellent. I find the city and the leadership, for that matter. I would tell all the residents listening and those residents here that that I think we're surrounded by great leaders and great vision and great doers. And so I'm grateful to have been numbered among you for a short season, and a new season beckons. So with that, that's all I want to say. I just want to say thank you. So
Thank you. Anybody else here for public input? Okay, I will close the public input portion of this meeting, and we will move on. Ask the council for reports.
I'd like to recognize the council for reports.
Anybody? Oh, we don't have any, so you'll ask administration if they have any.
Administration, are there any reports?
At this time, Mayor, we do not have any additional reports for the agenda. Happy to answer any questions if they come up during council comment.
Council Member McComber.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to mention that we had a great open house, grand opening for Cup Op, and I was able to attend, and I made sure everyone knew that you were excited, Mayor, for them to be there, and that you wish you could have been, but you had previous engagements. It was amazing turnout. The line was through the parking lot, all the way around. It was awesome to see the excitement for another great company coming into Saratoga Springs. One thing I just wanted to, as part of that, I just had a thought. We have a lot of businesses that come that maybe don't know about the chamber or aren't members or choose not to be members of the chamber. But as a city of Saratoga Springs and as council, I don't think we should limit our ability to support a grand opening if they're not part of the chamber. So I just want to make sure, and Ken, maybe this is to you. So when any businesses that are coming, let them know that as a council and mayor, we're happy to come to their grand opening if they're a member of the chamber or not. Obviously, we encourage them to be part of the Point of the Mountain Chamber because it's a great asset to them and we can explain the value and benefits to them. But I just want to make sure that all businesses know that if I'm available, I know Chris, I know Stephen, if any of us are available, we'll be there if we can. And we just want to make sure that they know they have our support. We'll put their picture on our Facebook page when they have their grand opening, just like we do for any other business. So, thanks.
So we'll call for the public hearing and read that.
Okay, now we'll have a public hearing for fiscal year 2022-23 budget amendments, resolution R22 to 64, 10/18/22.
All right. Evening, Mayor and Council. This is the second budget amendment for the fiscal year 22-23. Most of the items on this budget amendment are updating the Bluffdale contract for police services. Some other items of note is fire department is requesting money for to replace an engine, and we're moving and finance the AP clerk to full-time.
Can we clarify that? Replace the engine or motor inside the engine. Fire engines run $500,000 to $1 million. We're talking about, yes, some mechanical problems that we need to address. Thanks. That explains it.
Yeah. Sorry, any questions for staff at this time?
I'd like to open the public hearing.
If anybody's here for the public hearing for the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget, if you'd please come up, state your name and address for the record. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes, and please avoid repetitive comments. Do we have anything sent in? Okay, so you can close it.
I'd like to close the public hearing.
Any comments from council?
Any comments from council?
I'm going to do them. He's going to do the motion. Okay.
So just say you'll entertain a motion.
I'll entertain the motion.
We'll be doing the first motion.
I move to approve fiscal year 2022-23 budget amendments resolution R2264, 10/18/22.
I have a first.
I second.
First from Councilman
Oh, I have a first from McComber,
second from Wilton.
a second from Wilden.
No further, any further discussion?
Further,
Any further discussion?
Say aye together.
then do a roll call vote.
Okay, now we'll have a roll call vote.
Aye.
McComber,
Aye.
Paduska,
Aye.
Aye.
Wilden,
Aye.
Porter,
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
motion carries.
Perfect. And then consent, just say to entertain a motion. Consent item, as stated.
I need to make a change
Okay,
on the minutes.
okay, so yeah, just on the consent.
We're going to entertain a motion on the consent items.
I move that we approve consent item 1 with the following change, that line 145 be changed to Councilmember Porter encourages citizens that feel strongly one way or another to get out and talk with their neighbors. I appreciate, the word's probably exactly what I said, but it doesn't come across in the text very well. So it sounded like I was a little bit dismissive based on the way it was worded, or that's the way I felt it sounded, and so
This is the intent.
I want to make sure that I'm getting the point across correctly.
So what are you changing it to?
That's what I just said.
Okay.
The one that sounded out more eloquent.
The one that didn't say like, get out if you feel bad, if you feel about it.
That seemed like you to me, so.
Yeah, so, anyway, that,
I have a first from Councilman Porter.
Second.
Councilman McComber.
Any further discussion?
Any further discussion?
Roll call.
Councilman Paduska,
Aye.
McComber,
Aye.
Wilden,
Aye.
Porter,
Aye.
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 Okay. Business item 1, internal accessory dwelling unit, IADU, map amendment, Alpine Springs, Robert Lusk, petition from Alpine Springs / Fieldstone Homes applicant, Marie Way, and Foothill Boulevard, ordinance 22 to 39, dated today.
Okay. All right, is Robert here? Robert Lusk? Maybe you want to come on up. The applicant, in a minute, would like to have some, or say some words in regards to their application. I'll just introduce it here. So this is the last and final application for a map amendment that was submitted prior to our ordinance amendment, which required a fee and noticing and the process that was established for that. So they came in just under the wire there. But so what we have is Marie Way. Off of Marie Way is a subdivision known as Alpine Springs, and location shown here adjacent to Marie Way and Foothill Boulevard. And that shows it a little more clearly. 21 acres. It has recently been approved by plating for 63 lots. And so here shows the two, Plat A and Plat B, for that subdivision. And so they have requested that we be able to, or they be able to have ADU, not potential, but approval designated on the map for their particular neighborhood. Wanted just to show here, this is not part of tonight's discussion, but it is coming forward for future review. We are amending, or proposing to amend the code further to be a little more specific as to what is required when we review these applications and who needs to respond to them and what are the concerns that should be addressed. So we did kind of touch on that on our first proposed ordinance that was approved, but we felt that it needed to be just a little clearer and defined. So that is coming forward, so all future applications should be regulated by this. So I will go ahead, if it's okay with you, to turn the time over to the applicant. They would like to address their application.
Do we normally sit down or do we stand up?
You can sit down.
It feels weird to sit, so I'm going to stand up, if that's okay. Oh, thank you. Rob asked me to join him for this discussion just because I have some personal experience with ADUs. And I do have some things to share with you, but I am also very interested in answering questions. So if there are questions or concerns, I'd love to start with that from you as a council, and then I can make some comments beyond that.
Porter?
Oh, I'll use this. And this may be for staff. They're coming in, remind me, it's been a while since we've looked at this application. They're coming in under Title 19, just straight up, right? They didn't receive any, private road shrinking stuff or anything like that. Okay, that's good.
Any other questions, concerns?
Oh, McComber?
Yeah, so I just, it's not really a question, but just making sure that when you are allowing these, that you have to have certain requirements. The state has made those requirements and we're adopting them as well. Secondary entrances, all of that requirement, the parking requirements. So in fact, so I personally don't have as many issues because you're coming in with the expectation and knowing what to do. It's all of these units and houses that are coming in who don't have secondary access, build them, dig them, and all that. It's a lot much more of a complex situation when they don't have it set up to start with. So, as long as it sounds that you're an expert on this, so, or at least have a lot of knowledge. So that's really the most important thing for me is I just don't want to set up residents for failure in the future when they come in and they don't have all of the requirements met. Basically, you have to be able to lock the door between the upper unit and the basement and that kind of thing. So just make sure that all of those things are met so that the residents in the future aren't stuck, not being able to have a internal accessory dwelling unit. Thank you.
Oh, good comment.
Wilden?
I don't have any concerns with this, and reading through the staff report, said basically it was an error, it was supposed to be included. I would just say, like, we need to sunset any potential other divisions coming in saying, whoops, this was an error. Like, if any other subdivision comes in the future after this, I think it's been long enough that they need to go through the standard fee process and everything.
Right.
I mean, for this, I don't have any concerns. It's clearly outlined. We don't need to discuss it. I'm just saying, like, there needs to be a sunset, and I would say tonight's the sunset on
I think
that.
the sun is down after the.
Yes. So, and I get it. We don't need to go through it. I'm comfortable with it.
I don't have a problem with this because it's a new neighborhood. We can build the engineering roads for it. People buying know that they're buying in what potentially could become a duplex neighborhood, but they're aware of that when they purchase. It's not a standard before. So we've got, you can say you'll entertain a motion.
I wouldn't mind making just a few comments. I appreciate that, and I actually hope that means that you're ready to make a positive motion. But I do think it's important, and I guess what I want to share with you, because it's personal to me, and it's important to the narrative behind all these ADUs, is the importance that these housing options, right, actually really do help the community. I want to introduce you to my tenant, right? Susan, do you mind coming up? So Susan has lived with me for the last 6 years. I've had an ADU in my home, my personal home, for 10 years. So before the state said, hey, we should do this. And Susan here actually has become like family for us. So Susan works at Costco, and I think she saves the world because she's actually the one that hands out all the samples. And we know how many mouths are fed through that process, right? And Susan, for me, the reason why I want to make this real, right, is because she actually provides for me and my family, right, real support. Like there's a mutual benefit. Susan's been with me for 6 years, and unlike rents over the years, right, like she has the same rent. And the reason why is because she's important to us. And like I said, she's like family. My wife was just out of town for a couple of weeks. I came home and Susan had in the fridge, right, some fettuccine Alfredo. Because that's the kind of person she is, and that's what we've grown into. And I just want you to know that these options and this youth council, which is awesome for you to be here and to be part of a discussion like this is new, right? Having these sorts of things be regularly talked about, but you actually are probably the ones to live in a lot of these when you are newly married. And so it's just a really great housing option. I love your comment because building them with new construction is a much better process. Your neighbor city to the west or to the east of us actually mapped out all new construction and said, no, thank you. And I was like, really? That's where you want it. You want to plan for it. And so anyway, those are my comments. I just really want you to know we appreciate it. We hope you'll give us that positive recommendation because we know that these housing plans that we're offering will be beneficial to the community. Any questions?
Mayor, just one last comment, and that is, and it's per state law, but it needs to remain owner occupied. And
Yes.
so,
Yeah.
again, fundamentally, we understand that, and that's just I think, material
good-
part of
yeah.
the code, both at the state level and at the city level.
It's
So-
a good clarification. And to that end, Mark, we have personal experience with it. Like I said, we know how these work. We know what we need to inform our homeowners with when it comes to these things, which is just as important. Information, you've got to inform people. So thank you, appreciate it. Thanks, Susan.
Entertain a motion?
I move to approve internal accessory dwelling unit map amendment, Alpine Springs, Robert Lusk, petition from Alpine Springs / Fieldstone Homes, applicant Marie Way and Foothill Boulevard, ordinance 22 through 30 39, 10, 18, 22.
First from Councilman McComber,
Second.
second from Podeska.
If you're saying aye.
We'd probably need him to actually.
Yeah. Ryan?
Ryan, you okay with the second?
Yes, I am.
Any further discussion?
Any further discussion?
Just do roll call.
Roll call, Podeska,
Aye.
McComber.
Aye.
Aye.
Wilden,
Aye.
Porter.
Aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously.
You gotta be faster.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
They look bad.
My vote.
I've seen your work on these before. They do a good job.
He needs reassurance.
We'll now go to business item 2, southwest corner rezone, city-initiated southwest corner Pioneer Crossing and Saratoga Road, ordinance 22 through 40 dated today.
Are we doing all three at once? When it comes up.
Council, this is an application that's been initiated by the city, by city staff. It's right on the corner of Pioneer Crossing and Saratoga Road. The land use map calls for this area to be regional commercial. It's currently zoned industrial, and the proposal is to change it from industrial to regional commercial. The Planning Commission recommended approval, and we have recommended motion for approval. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to address those at this time.
Karn.
You're gonna do a corn? Karn?
Southwest corner red zone, city initiated southwest corner Pioneer Crossing and Saratoga Road, ordinance 22 to 40, 10, 18, 22.
Including any staff findings.
Including any staff findings and conditions.
First from Wilden,
Second.
You can pick.
second from McComber.
You got it.
Any further discussion?
Any further discussion?
Just start.
Roll call, Porter, Wilden,
Aye.
Aye.
McComber,
Aye.
Podeska.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item 3.
Business item 3, Saratoga Commons rezone and concept plan, Logan Johnson Wright Development applicant, 660 North Saratoga Road, ordinance 22 through 41, dated today.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is in the southwest third of the same property, but this is a request by the applicant, Logan Johnson. This is a change from regional commercial to heavy commercial. This is our first proposed heavy commercial zoned property in the city. At the time of application, we were still deep in the middle of the general plan adoption, so we didn't know what the general plan was going to be, so we didn't request the applicant do a general plan amendment. So that's why we're just seeing a rezone today. But staff has found that it was compatible with the surrounding properties, the surrounding land uses at the time as well. And they do have a concept, it's just a single office flex building to be built to the code standards in the heavy commercial zone that we have adopted. Here's some of the elevations. We do have some comments on the concept plan that we've proposed in the conditions of approval here. And I'll turn this item over to the council for discussion.
McComber.
So I just wanted to, on the record, just have some clarification. I know you have them in the conditions, but just felt like the back of the building was extremely flat. And I just wanted to make sure, which way is that facing? Is that facing Pioneer Crossing? Or does that face internal?
I believe it's facing south to the North Shore Commercial Project.
Where the parking stalls are there?
Yes, is that correct?
That's correct, yep, the
Yeah.
garages would be in the rear.
Facing into the development to the houses?
No, he said to the north.
Oh, to the north?
Sorry, the garages would go to the north into the UDOT routine ownership.
And towards Pioneer Crossing. So I really just want to make sure that we are looking at our code So this is a concern for me because if I give them the heavy commercial, does that meet code, that super flat, straight, no articulation? Okay. Because it looks very industrial, right? I know this is heavy commercial, but that actually looks industrial to me when I see that kind of flat with all of the.
Right.
So we need to have that elevation change. And I know you said, I think every 40 whatever feet, you had that on the condition. I just want to make sure that was really clear. And then the use of landscaping is fantastic in 8 years when the trees are actually mature. So this is just a recommendation. If you can just invest just a teeny bit more, instead of going for the twig trees, just get at least a 1-inch caliper. They do better out here. It's just the trees die a lot. And they have to have an individual water source. You can't use the sprinkler system that waters the grass and think that that's going to keep the tree alive. Ask any of a developer in this city, the trees end up dying and they're replacing them constantly. So those are just, those aren't requirements, but I'm just giving you some pointers. So, and then my other thing is even on the other part that faces the other way, just making sure that the material articulation changed so that it has some of the developments in Lehigh that we were, they're really nice down by the Thanksgiving Point area and stuff. We've seen those as pictures before. So if we could share some of that, like here's sort of the vision we were thinking with that heavy commercial, that would be, I think, helpful because then you're going to get exactly what the council has sort of wanted in this new zone. So just wanted to get that on the record. I know you had on the conditions, but I wanted you to hear from us that you aren't guessing in the future. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When you say individually watered, you mean like a drip system that has a spot at each?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like a drip system that just actually waters that tree with a couple gallons kind of thing. It actually is better for water usage anyway, too, to have that. Thank you.
Mayor, may I? Yeah. Okay. Just, maybe a question for staff. I mean, there's always a concern when we're rezoning regional commercial to heavy commercial or any other zone because we're losing a sales tax base and potential sales tax revenue generator. And we've talked about this in a different area, and I think I can get comfortable with heavy commercial when we talk about it, when it's like a small business incubator or other things and provides like a need, but I'd like to understand, I know we see some things here, but is this going to be just a big building or, I mean, what are we planning here? We are giving up basically, for the most part, significant sales tax. And so I'd like to understand how we got there and kind of what the plan is. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think the heavy commercial zone was intended to provide more retail uses with the option for the larger scale uses. I know Doug Meldrum isn't here tonight, but he had a lot of conversations with the applicant on this, right?
Yeah, could I speak to that? So we would prefer to have regional commercial tenants. As we looked at the list of uses and started marketing the property, that's what we wanted. But because of the depth off of the frontage and the access, we were just getting absolutely no bites. And we just don't think there's viability for it with such limited access and visibility. So what we're proposing here would be delineated into smaller units. We anticipate, I don't remember the exact square footage, but we would split it up into 3 or 4 different tenants. And we anticipate those would be sort of semi-retail tenants. Oftentimes there's things like a plumber or some supplier that will have retail sales as part of their establishment, yeah. And we have no anticipation that it would be one large user. Our full expectation is divided up into a few different tenants. Hopes that answers your question, Councilman.
And I think the building is roughly 20,000 square feet total.
Yeah.
That's about.
So it's one of the smaller buildings in the Mill Pond Plaza in Lehigh that we kind of looked at last year.
But decent size, yeah.
19, I think the thing says 19.
It says 22 right on this picture.
Oh.
22. Yeah. And that will change when they have to adjust for the landscaping and all of that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, numbers look different. Anyway, my question is, I guess somebody, I think you kind of touched on it, saying that the depth of the location from Pioneer and is kind of problematic for regional commercial. I just want to make sure that we're kind of carving this out of what the rest of this area closer to the corner is regional commercial. I just want to make sure that that's still viable. I don't know if Doug weighed in on that. I just want to know that we're not creating a undevelopable property to the north that'll never develop because it's too small to
Oh, yeah.
regional commercial.
Yeah, it's about the depth of the property that we just rezoned from industrial to regional commercial. So that has, you can see like the car wash and the gas station. So it's about the size of those smaller out parcels.
Okay.
So it'd probably get a similar use.
So we're not going to get a larger shopping center. We're going to get a strip mall.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
And there is shown, does it say?
That can deliver a big truck behind.
Yeah, there is a retail store on parcel 1 here just to the east.
To the east, right? And then yeah, I'm also concerned about to the north, just create an island that's not viable, that just sits vacant for 20 years because we've closed it off.
Right.
But I mean, the heavy commercial makes sense. This is, I believe, next to the Wadsworth property,
Yes,
right?
directly
And
next to the Wadsworth. So it's kind of a transition between our commercial corner and the Wadsworth. It is heavy commercial office warehouse under the old code.
Yeah.
So it's a good fit.
I mean, I think that is a good point from Councilman Porter, is when we look at small properties, in the future, it'd be helpful to also see some of these surrounding things like the north, because I know it's not happening here, but in some cases, we'll rezone something and then, I don't know, 9 years later now, this didn't happen here, someone will come back, well, this property, because it's, we need to feather it. And then over like a decade, we just keep losing.
Like just how south of Aspen Hills Boulevard, that became an island. That commercial there, remember, it was a real problem.
Yeah, so I think that's helpful, and that's a good point.
I mean, they're not going to allow, UDOT's not going to allow access off of that off of Pioneer Crossing.
No, they would have to come through this development, essentially.
Okay.
So we would account for that. We
So-
do require connections, cross connections.
Right, I'm just, that whole strip along Pioneer Crossing, how are people going to access that?
So this might help.
They're going to drive through the gas station?
I think there's a connection to the west directly. I know Kent was working on the subdivision, so he has a little bit better idea of the project as a whole.
Right, well, I
But
know
we
I'm throwing
do-
a wrench at you because we're not really
Yeah.
talking about the property that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Talking about the next door
The
property.
UDOT property, please keep in mind, the UDOT property already has some rather large water vaults and things in it. So immediately on the north side of this, it's already got some pretty severe limitations, and I don't anticipate.
So it may never develop it anyway.
I don't believe UDOT has any.
So we need to turn it into a park or something?
It's the big water lines, right?
Yeah, there's large water lines there, there's a water vault there. And UDOT, when they took the property to the west and sold that off, they preserved these as potential.
For expansion in the future.
Whatever that might
Okay.
look like, yeah.
All right, I just
Good to check.
don't want to be looking at that eyesore 20 years later and being like, well, I did that, so,
Right.
okay.
You can entertain a motion.
I'd like to entertain a motion.
All right, go ahead and read 3. I move that. And then
I move that Saratoga Commons rezoning concept plan, Logan Johnson Wright Development applicant, 660 North Saratoga Road, ordinance 22-41, 10/18/22,
with findings, staff findings and conditions.
with staff findings and conditions.
First from Councilman Porter.
First from Councilman Porter,
Second.
That's McComber.
second from McComber.
Any further discussion?
Any further discussion? Porter,
Aye.
Wilden,
Aye.
Aye.
Comber,
Aye.
Paduska,
Aye.
Aye.
motion carries unanimously. Business item 4, Saratoga Commons preliminary plat, Logan Johnson applicant, southwest corner of Pioneer Crossing and Saratoga Road, 1400 East / 2300 West, Lehigh.
So this is the proposed preliminary plat for this area that we've been talking about with the rezones. It was approved by, or recommended approval by the Planning Commission. And you can see kind of the outline of the preliminary plat before you. And here's the actual preliminary plat. There's some corrections that we will correct, with the final plat. But it's 5.61 acres and 3 lots. And if you have any particular questions, we'd be glad to try to address them at this time. The lot 3 will encompass that, I guess, was proposed maybe Ace Hardware on the east side of lot 3 and the heavy commercial on the west side of lot 3. And lot 2 is Tag and Go car wash. And lot 1, we anticipate that being a convenience store. And the access would be just off of Saratoga Road at this time.
McComber?
We're going to entertain a motion.
Oh,
Does anyone have a comment first?
we're going to entertain a motion.
But, Ryan, is it okay are you okay making a motion on this?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I move to approve Saratoga Commons preliminary plat, Logan Johnson applicant, southwest corner, Pioneer Crossing and Saratoga Road, 1400 East, 2300 West Lehigh. With the staff findings and conditions.
A second?
First from Podeska, second from Wilden.
Any more discussion?
Any more discussion? Podeska,
Aye.
Aye.
McComber,
Aye.
Wilden,
Aye.
Porter.
Aye. Thank you.
The motion passes unanimously. Business item 5, Wildflower Third Major Community Plan Amendment, Nate Ship and Caitlin Mickelson, DAI, Utah applicant, Mountain View Corridor, MVC, and Harvest Hills Boulevard. Ordinance 22 through 42 dated today.
All right, for this item, the applicant is proposing a few minor changes, relatively minor changes to the community plan amendment. However, the code does qualify these as a major amendment. For instance, since they are updating setbacks, that always requires a major amendment that comes to the city council. So in summary, the changes that they're making are just to a few pages of the community plan. They did want to allow the shortened driveways that we do have in our current code for townhomes with added guest parking standards to their type 4. And staff has proposed that this is only allowed in this subdivision shown on the bottom right of your screen here. And they only have about 50-something units in this subdivision that would have this type of driveway, but they wanted to have the 5-foot apron on the rear load units with added off-street parking. They also added some setback standards.
Point of clarification.
Yes.
So they want to go from 20 feet to 5 feet, just have a little apron on the back? Is that what they're doing?
For some of the rear load lots, yeah. And I've highlighted, there, if you can see kind of the yellow on the streets where some of those buildings are. So it's kind of small here, but we aren't looking at the village plan today, but I wanted to show you and point out where we would see this in Wildflower. But it would be limited to this one plat, this one preliminary plat within the subdivision.
Where the yellow is showing.
Yeah.
There's the bottom there and then some at the top.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So there's one where it has its own street, and they have some on-street parking that's actually parallel, that's designated as guest parking, a couple units near the guest house in the middle, or the playground in the middle, and then a couple buildings by the other playground on the bottom right side of the subdivision.
So they have garages. Oh, go ahead. They have garages.
Yes, they all have garages.
A little 5-foot apron that people are going to try and park on.
I'm not sure how the HOA is going to manage the parking situation. I have mentioned this to them that we've had problems.
I almost would rather have it be less, honestly.
Oh, less than 5 feet.
Because then it's less likely to park on it, because then you
Make it so small that
you make it so small that it's impossible
Yeah.
to park on it. And then I just want to make sure that there's an equivalent number of parking spots that are being relocated.
Yes, so I know I've been taking a long time on my review for the site plan because I went through and counted every single guest spot and how far it is from the unit, because we do have that requirement in the code that it has to be within 200 feet of the unit it serves. So I counted that they had the right number of units and the
Plus
right
the number of
distance.
extra parking for all the other units. Still have
Correct.
to have extra
Yes. Yeah, so for this whole subdivision I went through.
Great job. Okay, just double checking. 'cause-
Yeah, and I also noticed that they only have, most of them are two-car garages. They only have, I think, about 16 units that have a one-car garage. So I don't know which ones exactly those are, but that will be with the final plat review that I'll try to make sure that the units that do have that, they have enough parking on site.
Yeah, and the single obviously would probably benefit from having that extra larger driveway just because of everyone's stuff is in the garage and not the car. I mean, not to be rude, but that's just the way it is. We have way
Yes.
too much stuff in this first world. But my only other thing is seriously, like, I mean, when they come with the community plan, I don't know about the rest of council, I'm one of 5. I would almost rather have that be just like a 3-foot like apron almost, something that's almost impossible to pull a car because one, you don't want to deal with it as the HOA, future HOA, and we don't want to hear from all of the neighbors complaining that people are trying to park behind their garages and blocking the
If
road.
the point is to not have cars parked there, then just make it so cars can't park there rather than.
And add some more landscaping in the front.
I could probably squeeze my truck in there.
Yeah, I mean, if you shift the buildings all back, then you can have maybe more green space in front or something, where you have the sidewalks and the fronts of the buildings. You can maybe make that bigger because you're moving the whole building back 3 feet, but, or 2 feet or whatever. But yeah, so maybe work with them on that, but
Yeah, I think,
look at some best practice because just enough for like the curb to go up and then it's into the garage,
Yeah.
into the garage because go to up north in South Jordan into Daybreak. It's a nightmare. And when I visited my friend, I park on their little 6-foot driveway because there's nowhere to park and I do it to get into their, I'm visiting my friend who lives up there. So, thanks.
Just a little bit. We totally and completely understand what you're saying. There are some other concerns when you get shorter because when you're backing out of your car and out of your driveway, the visibility. So there are some other concerns when you get a little bit shorter.
yeah, it's an engineering.
Pros and cons to both.
So make it work if it's 3 feet. I'm not saying 0, maybe 3 feet, 4 feet. If it has to be 5 feet, I just know that a car, 5-foot wide car can fit on there. And it just becomes more of a sight problem at that point. If you have a bunch of cars and you're trying to pull out and now you have a car blocking the view of your sight triangle got even worse now having a car parked on a mini driveway. Thank you.
Yeah.
Turn the time back over to you, Mayor.
I think you answered this already. A lot of comments Councilman McComber had were the same as mine, but I think you mentioned this, the single car garage, are we requiring 2?
They still require 2.25 parking stalls off-street. So
Okay.
they would still, and if any shortened driveways would have to have 3 parking, so 2 plus a guest stall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the reality is the guest halls are going to be filled up with the homeowners. I mean, I have family, in-laws that live in Daybreak. It's very similar. And how wide are these roads? Are these private roads? I can't.
Yeah, these are the private roads that are shorter, and they don't have on-street parking, just the layout in this particular subdivision. We did allow an exception when you approved the community plan and the village plan to allow extra off-street parking closer than we would normally allow between the units. So you do see 1, 2, 3, 4 like rows of guest parking in between every unit. So there also wouldn't be an option for people to try to park between the homes, if that makes sense. I've seen that at the Exchange in Lehigh. So they do have a lot of guest parking wherever they can fit it.
So,
And it's the pull in, not just parallel.
so the on-street parking is going to be strictly prohibited by the HOA? Is that, I mean, it's going to have to be enforced because my concern is you don't have driveways, there's a fire or need for paramedics. If they're parked on the street, there's no way they're getting down there.
Right. I think there's no space for on-street parking just because of how the townhomes are laid out and the guest parking is laid out.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter if there's not space. Dumb people are going to be dumb, and they're going to like fit it on the road. I just said dumb on record, and you can put it in the minutes. That's fine. I mean, you can't legislate stupid, right? But that's the point. People are going to park on there unless, regardless of how wide it is, that people put a U-Haul across my driveway for 2 weeks.
Right.
So it's just going to have to be strictly enforced, or there's going to be a paramedic issue at some point.
Oh, I'll continue going through the list here if you would like as well. So they're adding standards because currently type 2 and type 3, two different types of small unit, single-family homes have the same setback standards. So we ask them to differentiate them so that when we do the review, we know what type of unit we're looking at, whether it's the cluster homes or just a small lot. So we have that in there. And then we've updated our private roadway cross-sections to be more in line with city standards. And we also added had them add this note to some of our units. It's in red in the bottom left here. Nothing's changed on this unit, but we do have other amendments to the community plan that will be coming to you soon. So on the units or on the exhibits that will be changing, we've had them add this note. It's in the conditions of approval just so that we know that these are going to be changing to be updated. Mhm.
We're going to entertain a motion.
And then what do I say?
It's 5, right?
I move to approve Saratoga Commons sorry. I move to approve Wildflower Third Major Community Plan Amendment, Nate Ship and Caitlin Mickelson, DAI, Utah applicant, Mountain View Corridor, MVC, and Harvest Hills Boulevard, October, ORD 22 through 42, 10/18/22 with staff finding and conditions.
First from McComber.
You can go ahead.
Aye.
Second.
Second from Porter. Any further discussion? Paduska.
Aye.
Comber.
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
Porter.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
I know.
You have needing.
Yeah.
We have need for closed session.
Make this quick. I missed
I
mine.
move that we move into closed session as outlined on the agenda.
First from McComber.
Second. Oh, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Recess.